And after I finished beating my eggplant for the 100th time, I remember I ended up looking at my clock and I realized that I was beating my eggplant to the Devil's Hub for over 24 hours. Yo, what is going on, you guys? My name is Bubba, and welcome to the most embarrassing and I gotta say terrible story I'm probably ever gonna tell on this channel. The reason I say it's terrible is because I feel like no one and absolutely no one should do this. Quick warning to everyone watching this video, no one should do what I am telling you guys in this story. It can lead to something really bad and is not a good addiction to watch the Devil's Hub. This story takes place back when I was in high school, and this was my grade 10 year, or at least the summer of. I was going from grade 10 to grade 11, and there was a Saturday night where I had absolutely nothing planned. I was bored playing video games and I decided, hey, it's a Saturday night, why don't I invite a girl over to come hang out with me? So I remember going on my phone and messaging over 12 different women. Yes, literally 12 different girls. But all of them were apparently busy, had plans, or too tired to come over. So that's when I decided, hey, since I'm home alone and I have nothing else to do, why not just go to my bed and just do it myself? Yes, I'm talking about beating my eggplant. So I decided to basically lay down in bed, and this was like 6 in the morning. I was up till 6 a.m., which is kind of insane. But I laid down on my bed and I basically started, beating my eggplant, but I didn't know to what. So I went to the one site that I think everyone knows about and goes to when they're in the mood, and that is the Devil's Hub. And if you guys don't know what that is, I am not going to tell you guys to watch it. In my opinion, no one should be watching it, and I'm just saying this right now. Please don't demonetize this video. I'm just saying this for educational purposes. Don't do what I do. But I laid down on my bed and I basically started beating my eggplant to the Devil's Hub. But every time I would watch a video, I realized that I would always get bored from like all the weird parts that they always put in the beginning. So I'd always skip to the good parts, or to the part where in the video they actually do the Devil's Tango. So I keep basically watching through these videos and I realized that none of these videos are making me, I guess, do the Devil's Cream. So I'm just sitting there going back to back on different videos to the point where I looked at the time and realized it was actually 2 in the afternoon. Yeah, I spent basically more than 8 hours, 8 full hours beating my eggplant. I was super annoyed that I never got to finish, and it got to the point where I remember my mom ended up coming home from wherever she was the night before, and I heard her coming downstairs to my bedroom. That's when I instantly covered myself up with a blanket and pretended that I was just laying there still sleeping. My mom ended up coming into my room and she looks at me and saying, Bubba, it's 2 in the afternoon and you're still in bed? What's wrong with you, my son? Are you sick? Huh? Oh, yeah, Mom. I'm not feeling so well. I think I'm just gonna keep laying down. I say that as I'm holding my eggplant, by the way, which is super disgusting and super cringe. But at the same time, I was in grade 10, okay? I didn't know any better, okay? Like, I'm just gonna let that be known right now. Anyways, going on with the story, I remember my mom ended up leaving my room and I went back to doing what I was doing before, watching the Devil's Hub. Except this time, I ended up trying to go to like different categories on the website. I started basically trying to figure out what would be the best thing to watch that would actually make me happy. But one thing I realized is that growing up, I think since I've done the Devil's Tango so many times, me actually beating my eggplant never actually helped. Like, even to this day, I don't really do that anymore. I feel like I've grown out of it. And even back then, I guess I kind of grew out of it. Not really. I don't know. Once again, I was bored and I had nothing planned for that night. So I remember I ended up basically getting back into beating my eggplant. And one thing I realized as well was that I was beating my eggplant for now, I want to say 10 hours. Things were getting really, really bad. And you guys are probably thinking, oh, Bubba, why don't you like just take a break, bro? Like, this is weird. Like, how are you telling us this right now? You gotta understand, I would. But there's one thing you guys need to know, and is that the Devil's Hub is a very addicting site. No joke, it is a major addiction that no one should get into. Fair warning to everyone watching this video. Don't do what I do, and don't go on those sites. They're not healthy. But anyways, hours went on, and basically it became 6 o'clock. At that moment, I was, well, basically laying down on my bed, rotting in there, smelling disgusting, and just beating my eggplant. I felt like a full-on Discord mod at that point. And I remember I ended up hearing my mom's voice from upstairs saying, Bubba, dinner's ready. Do you want to come up for dinner? And at that moment, I decided to basically get up. But one thing I realized was that I was feeling sick. And also, I didn't want to go upstairs being bricked. So what did I do? I ended up laying down and told my mom to bring the food downstairs. And that's exactly what she did. Honestly, shout out to my mom for being such an amazing woman. And actually, you know what? I'm not going to shout her out because this video would be the weirdest way to shout her out. But going on with the story, I remember my mom ended up coming downstairs with dinner. dinner, and she ended up putting the plate beside me as I was covered up in the blanket once again. And she looks at me once again and says, Bubba, can I check your temperature? Are you okay? Huh? Mom, I'm fine. I'm just relaxing, okay? Just leave me alone. Okay. Something seems off about you, Bubba. I don't know what it is, but hope you take care of yourself, all right? She goes back upstairs and she goes back to just doing whatever she does. Motherly stuff, I guess. And me, I get back to just beating my eggplant as I'm eating dinner. Yeah, literally, I am the best at multitasking. Okay, I'm gonna say that right now. But beating it and eating it is crazy. Whoa, wait. Not eating it. I mean, never mind. Going on. It got to the point where I ended up beating my meat for another like 4 hours, okay? And at this point, it was 12 at night. Yeah, I know. Crazy. It ended up becoming 12 at night, and I realized that it was dark outside. And another thing I started to notice as well was that I got rope burn on my eggplant. If you guys don't know what rope burn is, it's basically this really burning feeling, and it really was bad. So I remember I ended up doing the one thing that I thought could maybe help me. Oh, you guys thought I stopped? No. I ended up getting lotion. I picked up my lotion, and I said, you know what? It's time to end it once and for all. And right as I was about to do it again, I ended up getting a phone call. I got a phone call from this girl that I was seeing a while back in high school. She was actually one of my sneaky links. And she called me saying, hey, Bubba, do you want to like just come over? What? Right now? Yeah, I'm kind of in the mood. I never got out of my bed so fast, took the fastest shower ever, which actually really helped me out with my eggplant getting rope burn. And I went straight onto my bike, rode all the way to her place. And yeah, I ended up doing the Devil's Tango with her. Except it actually took me more than 4 hours just to finish. I guess it was from me beating my eggplant all day. But honestly, if there's one lesson I can tell you guys from this story, and is that don't watch the Devil's Hub for 24 hours. Or don't even watch it in general. Once again, it is not healthy. It is not a good thing to watch. And also, it is a really, really bad idea. It can lead to your brain not doing the right things. And also, it makes you very unhealthy as a man. Or even as a woman, I think. Okay, we all have done this, okay? I don't care how many of you guys say you haven't. We all have done this, okay? And this is not cap. This is hard facts, and we all know this. And if you're embarrassed about it, don't be, because I'm about to tell you guys my experience of it, okay? And, you know, like, it is what it is. You know, it happens, okay? Yo, what is going on, you guys? My name's Bubba, and welcome back to another crazy video. So, obviously, this video takes back all the way back when GTA 5 came out. So, this was, like, a long time ago, because if you guys don't know, Grand Theft Auto is, like, one of the oldest games that I grew up with personally. And, honestly, like, I love the game to bits. You know, I can't wait till they actually make a GTA 6, which we all know will probably never happen since they keep remastering old crap and none of us even want it. And it just sucks. It just sucks, okay? But anyways, like I was saying, so this story takes place back when GTA 5 came out. And when GTA 5 came out, I'm not gonna lie to you guys, it was awesome. Me and my friends wanted to get the game so bad, and we were all excited for it. I remember one of my friends pre-ordered it online so that his mom wouldn't have to give consent. And if you guys don't know what I mean by that, you see, down here in Canada, we have a thing called EB Games, or I guess for Americans, it's GameStop, or in other countries, it's just a game store. And they kind of do this thing where if it's like an M-rated game or 17 plus you have to be, you are not able to get the game without parents' consent. And obviously, you know, when you go and buy the game, they make sure all these rules, like, you do realize like this game has like violence, death, attack helicopters, Biden, Donald Trump, and like the whole country going kaboom, right? And like, bruh, are you joking? Like, dude, I just want to play a game, bro, and they put limitations like that in a game store. I'm just joking. I actually kind of get it, but in a sense, it sucked. So in a way, I really had no way to actually get this game for when it was released, because think about it like this. I was like 15 or 14 actually at the time, and getting GTA wasn't an option because my parents were pretty strict at the time. And let's just say, you know, if I had an EB Games, you know, salesperson or retail, whatever the person does, going up to my mom and saying, yeah, sure, this game has violence, a lot of Devil's Tango, and a bunch of explosives. Are you sure you want your son to have this? I already know for a fact she's gonna say no, and we're gonna get out of that store, and I'm gonna cry to bits not having the game. So I developed a plan, a very secret, ultra mega super awesome cool plan. Yes, I made this up myself. So obviously, you see, in school you meet a lot of people, and in middle school you usually meet that one person whose parents don't care about their kid. As sad as it is, yes, this is a hard fact. There's usually always that parent that doesn't care about their kid. So I remember I've had one of those friends before, and honestly, he was a benefit to me at this day, because I remember I walked up to him and told him, yo, bro, like, I need this game, bro. Like, please, bro, like, can you ask your dad to go pick it up? I'll give you the money for it. And he told me straight up,
Oh yeah, like no problem, bro. Just give me like double for it.
bro, what? This guy was expecting me to give him like $140. But then I remember he liked the chick in school, and she was kind of my friend at the time. So I told him, bro, if you do this for me, I'll literally hook you up with the hottest chick in school, your crush. And at that moment, he instantly said yes. He took my money and he told me, give me 1 day. So when he said that, I instantly went home and was excited. I was prepping my console. I remember even cleaning my console, preparing for this game to come inside the disk drive, go into my console and just, sorry, that was inappropriate. My bad. Sorry. I got excited because this was a big thrill. I think all of you guys know the big feeling of when you get like a new game and stuff. Like, it feels good. Okay. It feels awesome. So anyways, at that moment, I remember the next day came by and I went up to my buddy. He gave me the game and I instantly put that thing in my backpack and was excited to go home. Actually, I'm not even gonna lie to you guys. I skipped class just to go home and play this game. So I remember when I got home, I sneaked up to my room. I literally opened my disc tray for my console. I played on the Xbox 360 at the time. I put the game in and I closed it. And instantly right on my screen appeared Grand Theft Auto 5. Oh my goodness, dude. I was hyped, dude. I was ready to press it. I was getting my snacks ready because you already know this game is literally a movie. And when I opened it, instantly the loading screen came on and my mom walked into the house from work. Now this is where I was panicking. Okay. I was freaking out inside because if my mom came into my room, saw that loading screen and saw a chick in a bikini, she knew something was up. So I remember every time like I would somewhat hear her come into my room, I would turn off my like monitor or my TV at the time, I should say. And you know, she would like check and be like, what are you doing? And I'd be like, nothing, reading, doing, jerking off, anything else? Yeah, no, literally that's literally what I would do. But then I remember when I started playing the game and, you know, all my friends got on and stuff. And for some reason, you know, I recently found out that there was a GTA 5 strip club in the game. And that was really, really cool. I remember I told my friends like, oh, like I'm gonna go to the strip club in GTA. I'll be back in 20 minutes. So I muted my mic. I went inside that strip club. And what did I end up doing? Well, I ended up wanking off to digital chicks. Yeah, this is actually really sad, but in a way, it's kind of the same as the Devil's Hub. So don't make fun of me. So I ended up, you know, doing that. And obviously, as I was doing that, I kind of like had like a towel and everything set up and stuff. And as I was like going at it, my mom walked in when I had my headset on and I didn't hear her coming. And let's just say she saw it happen. She looked at my TV. She looked at me and she's like, what are you doing? Like, what is this? Like, it was bad. It was bad, dude. It was just terrible. And yeah, let's just say I got my game taken away from my parents. I didn't get it until 2 weeks later when I found her in the drawer. And I never went into the Grand Theft Auto strip club again because, you know, it's just not worth the risk. Okay, so this story all takes off back in my grade 7 year. And when I was in grade 7, I won't lie to you, I had a crazy addiction. I had an addiction to beating my eggplant. And this got even worse and worse over, you know, the time of me going through that year. But basically, this story is about how I ended up getting an addiction to beating my meat. But obviously, before we talk about this story, make sure you guys do leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Seriously, it means a lot when you guys do. And on top of that, if you guys have not already, make sure you guys join me live on Twitch, streaming and telling crazy stories just like this one. Other than that, let's just jump straight into this embarrassing story. Yo, what is going on, you guys? My name's Bubba, and welcome back to a very embarrassing story. So this story all starts off back in my grade 7 year. Now, in grade 7, I won't lie to you. Around this time, I was hitting puberty at its full peak. Like, it was hitting me like a rock non-stop. And I remember I really wasn't good at, you know, handling the situation where I would get bricked up. Like, yes, I knew that, you know, I would get bricked, but to be honest, I never like actually just like got it when I didn't want to get it, if that makes any sense. But basically, I remember one time it was a Friday and I was in my math class, and basically our teacher was teaching us something with like, I don't know, with like squares and like shapes and stuff. And like, you know, basically like trigonometry. If you guys know what that is, then good for you. You guys are studying school, but I don't know. I totally forgot what it was, but I think it was trigonometry. And she was basically showing us how to calculate a triangle. And me, I remember out of nowhere, and I'm not joking when I say this, but basically I remember I was staring at the whiteboard, just looking at it, staring it down. And then I remember randomly, after looking at a triangle for so long, I ended up getting bricked. I don't know how. I was just looking at shapes. I was looking at a triangle and I got bricked out of nowhere. Now at this point, I was actually concerned with myself. I'm thinking, yo, like, what is going on? Like, why did I get one? What am I attracted to? And I started looking around and I realized that none of the girls in my classroom I was attracted to. And the whole time I was just focusing on school. So why in the world would I get bricked randomly? Now, at this moment, I was concerned and I was actually kind of worried about myself, thinking, okay, something's wrong. I need to figure this out. Like, what is going on with me? So what I decided to do was basically raise my hand up and say, can I go to the bathroom, please? And I stood up and I ran to the bathroom. When I got to the bathroom, I remember I sat there kind of panicking, thinking, yo, like, what is going on with me? Why am I, all of a sudden bricked up? And then I decided that, maybe I should text my mom and say that I want to go see the family doctor. Now, my mom at this time would always see the doctor like every week. I'm not going to say why, because that's personal family stuff, but, she was well known with, the doctors and stuff. So I remember basically I ended up basically going to the doctor with her literally the next day on a Saturday. And when I went with her, I remember I decided to go see my family doctor. And when I sat down with her, I sat down and told her, hey, I have a question. So I randomly got like bricked in the middle of class, but I wasn't looking at anything bad. It's just like, I was just looking at shapes and it just happened. My doctor looks at me and ends up telling me that this was normal for a teenager. She ended up telling me, you're growing into a man and obviously you're hitting puberty. You'll realize that random moments in your life, you'll have certain arousal and you will just have to handle it. And don't be afraid to, beat your meat because, well, it's in a way it's healthy for you and your body. I ended up looking at her very weirdly because obviously, what kind of doctor tells you that you should beat your meat? Like, it doesn't make sense. But obviously, when I actually put research into it, actually started to make sense. But I remember from there, I was really happy that, this was a normal thing to happen to teenagers. So I remember that same day when I went home after seeing the doctor, I ended up going right to my bedroom and I did everything I could with this. Yeah, this was my best friend for that weekend. I have no idea how, but I managed to beat my meat like over like 40 times that weekend, which was very crazy and very scary. But I will say this much. Back when I was a kid, I never like at that age, like was allowed to watch the Devil's Hub. So I ended up using Grand Theft Auto 5's amazing unicorn place to basically arouse myself. So I guess you guys could imagine me basically staring at a monitor. Yeah, you know what? I don't want to talk about it, but you guys get what I mean. I remember from there, I would always like, do that. And it got to a point where one time there was my mom that walked in, which you guys could go check out that video if you want to. But then I remember later on that Monday, it was school. And I went to school basically thinking that I handle myself. I ended up, taking it all out of my system, which is not a thing, by the way. Anyways, I remember from there, I ended up basically going to all my classes and I didn't get bricked up at all. I thought I was in full control until social studies came up. Now, I remember I went to socials class and basically we got handed our textbooks for socials. And basically one thing led to another. I ended up sitting down, going through the textbook to see what we were learning. And I ended up going through a page that had the Mona Lisa on it. Now, I think everyone knows what the Mona Lisa is. It's a really old, like Leonardo da Vinci painting that's like super popular and for some reason super expensive for absolutely no reason. Like if the painting was a picture of a man, maybe it'd be more expensive. I have no idea. Like I think a picture of Andrew Tate would go for more. Sorry. Okay. I'm getting out of hand. That sounded sexist. Sorry. Going on though. Anyways, I remember basically from there, I ended up staring at this photo of Mona Lisa and I was super weirded out to the point where I actually ended up getting bricked up. Now, I had no idea why I got bricked up. I ended up looking down at my pants and I'm like, yo, what? Seriously? And from there, I really just wanted to handle it. But how was I going to handle it if I was at school? So I remember I ended up just standing up and actually just leaving the classroom. I didn't put my hand up, nothing. I just left the classroom and my teacher ended up sending my friend to go and get me and see what's wrong. As I was walking down the hallway, freaking out, my friend ended up coming up to me saying, yo, bro, like you good? Like the teacher's wondering why you just left like that. I'm not gonna lie, bro. I have a situation. And from there, he ended up looking down and looking at my legs and what was between my legs. And he realized that I was bricked. If you guys are wondering how he knew, I was wearing sweatpants that day. Anyways, going on, I remember he ended up looking at me saying, yo, bro, just go to the bathroom and just handle it. Like, what the hell? I can't. What am I supposed to handle it to? The toilet seat? Do you not have like any, like a phone that you could just like, enjoy yourself to? I have a phone, but like, I don't have access to like those websites. Okay, bro, you know what? Why don't you just use my phone, go to the bathroom, handle your business, and just come back to class. I ended up staring at him really weirdly because what kind of friend hands you a phone for you to use the Devil's Hub on? Like, it made no sense. But basically, I ended up taking his phone and I ended up going to the bathroom and I ended up basically, I ended up watching the Devil's Hub. But to be honest, I have no idea like how to navigate that website back when I was in grade 7. So I ended up watching something with grannies in it. And yeah, let's just say I was in there for longer than 2 hours. But afterwards, when I finally ended up doing the Devil's Cream, I ended up getting up and finally going back to the classroom. And class was already over. And my teacher basically basically gave me the assignments I missed, and I got in serious trouble. And by serious, I mean serious trouble by my parents that day. And to be honest, I ended up telling them I injured myself, but I just didn't say where. Okay, so the new Apple VR headset's coming out, or as some people are calling it, this brand new Apple Vision Pro. Like, I don't really know how it's Pro, but at the same time, I mean, they put Pro in front of everything. Like the iPhone 13 Pro, which is just another iPhone, or the iPad Pro, which is just another iPad. Obviously, there's little specs here and there, but when I first saw about this brand new Apple Vision Pro, you already know my mind was thinking of a lot of things. And today I'm going to be talking about how I used the Apple Vision Pro for all the wrong reasons. But before anything, make sure you guys do leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Seriously, it means a lot when you guys do. And on top of that, I am live on Kick streaming, telling crazy stories just like this one. So if you want to see these stories live with my face right on the cover, well, I advise clicking the link down below in the description. But other than that, let's get straight into this insane story. Yo, what is going on, you guys? My name's Bubba, and welcome back to a crazy story. So yes, the Apple Vision Pro is coming out. And I remember when I first heard about this, I thought it was really cool. Now, being a YouTuber has its perks. Like, for example, you get to meet a lot of people in different companies. From, working with Raid Shadow Legends to working with other agencies and working with a bunch of other creators. But I remember one time, I was watching the keynote on basically Apple talking about, their Vision Pro coming out. And I was actually really curious. And don't get me wrong, VR has evolved to extreme lengths. Like, for God's sakes, we're all playing games on VR. We're all like, using VR to watch movies. Hell, we're going to the stages of 4D, okay? Like, that's how life's really getting to. So me being excited for this, it reminded me of a time from back when I was actually in high school. And actually, I've told the story about where I ended up beating my meat to VR. And honestly, it was actually a really good experience. Other than my mom walking in. If you want to see that story, just click on the screen and it will take you straight to the video. Anyways, going on from there, I remember when I saw this Apple Vision Pro, I was excited. Because I was thinking, yo, this is a good way of technology. You can start opening windows. It's like having a computer strapped onto your face. And who doesn't want that? So I remember what I ended up doing was I basically was just, going through my emails, answering some sponsors and stuff that want to sponsor some of these cool videos. And then one thing I ended up seeing was that my old friend of mine from back in high school ended up emailing me. They ended up emailing me basically saying, yo, like, it's been a long time, Bubba. I don't know if you remember me. I knew you back in high school. And I kind of remember the guy, and I knew that his family was actually super rich. So him contacting me was actually a really cool experience. What I ended up doing from there was I ended up actually emailing him back saying, hey man, like, how's the family? It's good to see you. It's kind of weird that we ended up communicating through email because most people try to hit me up through Instagram. By the way, follow me on Instagram if you guys haven't already. I just got verified on there recently. I remember I basically ended up emailing him back, basically trying to catch up with him. And one thing led to another. He ended up telling me he had Discord, and I ended up adding him on Discord. And by the way, I'm actually on Discord as well. If you guys want to join the Discord server and tell me your guys' crazy stories, go for it. Just click the link down in the description below. Sorry, back to the story time. So I remember one thing led to another. I ended up adding him on Discord. We ended up going into my Discord server, and I ended up actually talking to him. We ended up hopping into a call together, and he was just telling me about his family and all the amazing achievements, he's done. And he told me one thing that actually kind of blew my mind, and that his dad worked at Apple. Now, obviously, this is where the story gets a little interesting. I remember he told me that his parents worked at Apple, both mom and dad, and that his dad was like a really high position in Apple. I remember he ended up telling me, yo, Bubba, like, did you see like the Apple keynote that just went down? Oh yeah, the one from the other day? Yeah, I saw it, and honestly, I'm really impressed, is what I told him. And then he ended up saying, well, bro, like, are you still around the area? Because like, I could bring you actually a Vision Pro to try to use. Wait, for real? Is what I told him. He ended up saying, yeah, and how like, his dad had an extra one laying around because apparently he needed it for testing the product and stuff. I have no idea, but he basically said that he could bring it over to my place and we could try it out. Now me, I was super excited. Knowing this thing was trending all over the place and knowing how many people want to see other people use this thing was insane. So what I decided to do was tell him, yo, bro, like, if you want, like, is it cool if I make a video on it? He ended up saying it was fine, and honestly, I was planning on posting a video on the Bubba channel about it, but as the story goes on, you will see why it ended up not happening. I remember The next day, he ended up coming over and he ended up, you know, seeing me in person, and it's been a long time. So I shook his hand, obviously, you know, trying to be a nice guy. And in his other hand, I saw a giant briefcase. Now, this briefcase was no like normal briefcase. It was like one of those briefcases that was like silver and really fancy. And I remember when I looked at it, I was like, there is no way there was an Apple Vision Pro in there before release date. Now, reminder, the Apple Vision Pro costs like $3,500. That's a lot of money for a VR headset. Like, I don't even think I can afford it. But if you subscribe to the channel, maybe I'll do a giveaway on one. Who knows? Going on from there, though, I remember I was super excited. We ended up going straight back to my apartment. We ended up sitting down and we basically ended up, you know, unboxing this thing. When we unboxed it, I saw like how the wires worked. I saw like the headset and like how basically it was really high end. Like, this thing was really fancy for a VR headset. It's not like any other VR headset I've ever seen. So me seeing this, I got super excited and I told him, how does it work? And he ended up telling me like how like basically like to put it on and he'll just kind of set it up for me. So that's what I ended up doing. I put on the headset. I ended up basically looking, you know, through it. I ended up connecting one of my accounts or iCloud accounts, I think, to the headset, and boom, I realized that my text messages were showing from my phone. I saw like, you know, the screen of like stuff that I was on my MacBook was on there. Like, it was really cool. And honestly, the experience was phenomenal. Like, I would want one actually if I could afford it. And I told him, bro, like, can I do anything on here? And he said, yeah, you can literally do anything from watching your own videos to answering texts. You can do anything you want, bro. Like, think about it as if it's your phone attached to your face. And at that moment, I knew this thing was amazing. But I remember when I was looking inside the VR headset, I started realizing that when I was going through my text messages, one of my sneaky links ended up sending me a photo of her cherries. And I got kind of distracted by that because I could see it in the VR headset. But the person that was with me that brought the VR headset, the homie, ended up basically not knowing what I was looking at. So I remember I ended up looking at that, you know, photo of this girl's cherries from my sneaky link, and I started kind of getting bricked up. Now, when I get bricked up, I gotta do it. Like, I am the master of the devil's tango. But one thing you guys need to know about me is that I'm not gay. So obviously, I'm not gonna do the devil's tango with the guy that brought me the VR headset. What I ended up doing was I actually ended up basically telling him, yo, like, can I walk around and like still use the headset? He ended up saying yes. So I ended up actually standing up and going to my bedroom and telling him I wanted to try it in different environments. He ended up saying go for it and ended up going on his phone being distracted. And then one thing led to another. I ended up going in my room, laying in my bed, and I ended up hearing him actually answer a phone call. And this guy, when he's on the phone, apparently he's on the phone for a very long time. So I thought this would be the perfect moment for me to basically whip out my eggplant and start beating my meat with the Apple Vision Pro on. Yeah, I'm not proud of it, okay? I know it's embarrassing, but to be fair, my whole life is embarrassing. So I remember I started beating my meat with the Apple Vision Pro on, and honestly, it was really dumb, but at the same time, I mean, hey, I really wanted to test the limits on this thing, so I thought it might not be a bad idea to see how, you know, the Devil's Hub would run on the VR headset. So I remember on the Apple Vision Pro, I ended up searching on the search bar, the Devil's Hub, and ended up going on the Devil's Hub and started basically beating my meat to the Devil's Hub. And as I had the Apple Vision Pro on, yeah, I was using this VR headset for all the wrong reasons. Don't do what I do. And Apple, if you ever want to sponsor one of my videos, I promise I would not do this to your headset. Okay, well, maybe actually, I'm not gonna lie to you. But one thing led to another. As I was about to finish, I remember I ended up hearing my door open, and you can kind of see like through the Apple VR headset. So I ended up basically sliding my pants up as fast as I could, and my friend knew exactly what I was doing because apparently he could hear the moaning noises coming from the video out of the headset. And yeah, he ended up basically telling me to take off the headset and started yelling at me for 10 minutes, put the headset back in its briefcase, and ended up leaving. And he didn't even say goodbye. Yeah, I kind of regretted that decision, but at the same time, hey, at least I got to try the Apple Vision Pro. And right away, this kid ended up opening another tab on the internet, on the school computer, and he ended up searching up the letters P-O-R. Yo, what is going on, you guys? My name's Bubba, and welcome back to a super embarrassing story. Now, today's story is actually something that no one should do. This is a serious warning to everyone out there. Don't do this, because it will not make you a better person, and it may get you in serious trouble. But I remember back when I was in grade 6, basically, one thing that a lot of people were doing was hitting puberty. And hitting puberty is one of those things that I will say say is one of the most hardest things to actually go through because it makes you curious about so many different things. Like, for example, you get more curious about how girls' cherries look, or for example, like how does the whole Devil's Tango actually work? And I will say this, me back in grade 6, I wasn't like that, surprisingly. I ended up hitting puberty more in like the grade 7, grade 8 years of my life, and I remember hitting puberty at grade 6 just wasn't a thing for me. So I remember I ended up basically just doing my own thing and focusing on more important things in life, like Call of Duty, making YouTube videos, basically wanting to do more cooler things than pulling girls, which I thought at the time. But going on with the story, I remember basically one time in grade 6, I had this one friend of mine that was, well, I would say a bad influence. I remember this one friend of mine, he was a super bad influence, and I guess it's because, well, I don't know, he says the reason for it was because he has 2 moms, which I don't think that's true, but at the same time, I don't know. He was a really weird kid, and he was just, I guess, always naughty. And I remember one time, there was actually a moment in my grade 6 class where he would actually walk up to a girl in my classroom and pull her skirt down, which was very bad, by the way, but that's a story for a different time. So subscribe if you guys want to hear that. Now, other than him being super naughty, I remember one thing that was really cool about my grade 6 year is that in my classroom, we had 2 computers. Now, every classroom back in my middle school had like a computer basically at the school, and it wasn't just the teacher's computer, like it was a student computer where people could do their projects on. And basically, these computers were only used for like homework purposes. So if we really wanted to go on the internet, you would have to like find like a way to do it where like the computer doesn't detect it. And me, obviously, I knew how to do it because, well, I was a computer kid back then. Like all I cared about was video games, and I played games on my computer a lot back at home, and I kind of just knew how to do it. But my friend that was super naughty, well, I guess he had different ideas for the computers than using it for homework. Because I remember one time, it was lunchtime, and basically he ended up looking at me saying, "Yo, Bubba, bro, I have a question. Do you know how to like use the computers like at school, like go to the internet?" Yeah, it's actually really easy. Wait, why? Well, like, bro, I'm gonna be for real with you, man. There's a website I gotta show you. Like, my parents showed me this website, and I can't stop watching it. At this moment, I was really confused on what he was talking about, and I thought this was gonna be like some really cool like YouTube video, for example. Like, I thought he was gonna show me something that was actually considered cool. So I remember me and him, we were like kind of like discussing like how to do it and stuff. But every time I tried to explain to him how to like, you know, go through the school computer to go on the internet, he never understood it. So I remember there was a moment later on that day where basically me and him, we ended up going into our classroom when the classroom was empty. I think the classroom was empty at that moment because a lot of the students ended up actually going to another classroom for a different class, and that gave my teacher a break to go to the teacher's lounge. So I remember when the coast was clear and there was no teachers in the classroom, nothing, basically me and him, we actually ended up basically going onto the school computer, and right as we hopped on it, a teacher walked in and he instantly told us to go to class. Now I know you guys are thinking, wait a minute, that's not what happened. Trust me, we'll get there, just keep watching. From there, I remember we went to class and he told me how we need to do it at a time where there's no one around, when like, you know, the coast is totally clear. And the only time that the classroom was actually empty at school at the time was around lunchtime. So he told me, "Yo, Bubba, I gotta show you this video, bro, but we gotta do it in the school computer. So like, I think we should do it like around lunchtime when like there's no one in the room. You understand?" Yeah, I mean, yeah, sure, but is the video really like that important? Bro, trust me, you want to watch this, bro. It's gonna change your life. Obviously, like, he was really being over dramatic about this video. I'm not gonna lie to you guys, but I will say this, it was something that really did change me, because I remember from there, me and him, as we were talking about this, another one of the students actually ended up walking up to us. Now, this person was a girl, and I will say this, she was one of those sketchy girls where she did not really care about anything. She was more considered, I guess, emo, but can you really be in grade 6 and be considered emo? I don't really know, but she walked up to us and said, "Yo, what are you guys like talking about? It's none of your business." No, it doesn't matter. He just wants to show me a video. I don't know what it is. I remember my friend ends up looking at me saying, "Don't tell her, she's a girl, bro. She won't understand." And right away, this emo girl took major offense to that, and she said, "I just want to say this right now. Like, obviously, like, I think I would understand. I'm not dumb, okay? I'm like, you do realize girls mature faster than boys, right?" Honestly, at this time, I don't really know what was going on, but I basically made it clear to everyone what was going on, and I made it clear to her and him that we will do this the next day at lunch, and we'll get it through, and we'll see this video. We all agreed to meet up at lunchtime, and that's what we did. The next day at school came around, and basically all of us, we ended up meeting up at lunchtime outside at the Foursquare game, which, by the way, I love Foursquare. It was one of the funnest games to play back when I was a kid. But basically, all of us, we met there, and we ended up discussing how we're gonna break in. This girl ends up looking at me saying, "Well, you do realize, like, the classroom's locked at lunch, right? So, like, you need a key." key. And that's when my friend looked at both of us, started smiling, and said, oh, I got an idea for taking the key. Don't worry about it. I remember the next day came around and the class before lunchtime came, and basically we need to steal a key from the teacher. But the teacher obviously always holds on to the key. So me and him, we were trying to figure out what's the best way to do it. So I remember my friend the whole time was basically following behind the teacher and trying to grab like his keys from his pocket as he was like in the middle of walking around the classroom, which I mean did not work. And me and this emo girl saw that this plan was not working and this guy was just way too overconfident the day before. And what this emo girl does was actually really insane, where she stood up, walked up to the teacher and said, hey, I have a question. Can I use your key? Like, I need to go into like one of the classrooms and like I forgot my like important lady stuff there. So like, can you just give me your damn key? My teacher ended up basically saying, yeah, here, just use it and then make sure you come right back with it. Sure, we'll see how that goes. And my teacher ends up handing this girl the key and she leaves. And for the rest of that class, she did not come back. We have no idea where she went. We have no idea where like she disappeared to, but she was gone. So that moment, me knowing that she was like totally gone, I was like kind of like iffy on like what was going on. But then when lunch came around, we all ended up meeting back up at the Foursquare game, and basically she walked up to us with the key in her hand. She said she gave the keys back, but like she kept that one specific key just to make sure we could get into that classroom. So I remember that day we ended up basically walking to the classroom that we were in, and we basically went inside and we instantly hopped on the computer. The things we did just to hop onto a damn school computer was insane. And I will say this, it made no sense why it took that long, but I mean, hey, it's a part of the story, so what can I say? But this is where things get really insane, because I remember I ended up going on the computer and basically I ended up doing this whole thing where we ended up logging into Google Chrome. And when we got into Google, my friend pushes me off the computer, goes on the computer, sits down and searches up the letters P-O-R, and then right away he puts the last letter in, goes on the website of the Devil's Hub. And yeah, I'm not joking, he literally just wanted to show us two girls doing the Devil's Tango. I remember the emo girl was like not shocked about this and she like found it really hot, and then the guy was like freaking out and he's like, bro, like this is what my parents do, bro, like all the time. And I'm just standing there going, what in the world are we watching? Who are these two women? Why are they being filmed doing this? Is this even legal? I will say this, it was a real eye-opener to realize that stuff like that's on the internet, and honestly, my opinion, you guys should be safe on the internet and not be watching those things. But at the same time, what can I say? We all grow up eventually. Okay, so I'm not gonna lie to you guys, apparently when you're doing the Devil's Tango, there's a lot of different variations you can do it with, and I think I made a story about this before, but apparently there's a lot of different types of toys that you can also do it with. And today's story is about a certain toy that, let's just say, I didn't know about, and honestly, let's just say it gets pretty embarrassing, so honestly, you might as well listen through this. Also, on top of that, make sure you guys do join the Discord server. It seriously means a lot when you guys do, and also come hang out with me on Twitch. And if you guys really want to see what I look like, by the way, you guys can follow me on Instagram, but I guess we are gonna do a face reveal soon on this channel, even though you guys know what I look like, but that doesn't matter. Anyways, let's get straight into it. Yo, what is going on, you guys? My name's Bubba, and welcome back to another crazy story. So today's story was something back in high school. Funny enough, this was back in high school, and this is when I was in that stage of really getting in the mood and doing the Devil's Tango with a lot of different people. And I can easily say confidently that I think this was my grade 10 year. So I was already in the year of just kind of getting into it, you know what I mean? But still slaying all the ladies. I know, it kind of sounds cringy me saying that, but at the same time, that's the gist of it. Going on though, so like I was saying, back in high school, I had a friend that was a really good friend of mine. He was a pretty genuine dude, I'm gonna be honest. He was just a nice guy, and he only had a dad at the time because his parents recently got a divorce. And I remember he would always kind of talk to me about it and stuff like that. And honestly, apparently for some reason, and I'm not trying to be racist in any way, shape, or form when I say this, but a lot of white families have divorced parents nowadays. I don't know what it is, but it's just a common thing apparently. Damn, when did marriage become such a depleting thing in this world? Going on though, so I remember he was telling me how his parents recently got divorced and he was really sad and stuff, and I told him you know, hey, it's chill, you can come hang out at my house and we can you know, become good friends. So that's what ended up happening. We ended up becoming really good friends, and he was really nice to me and stuff. And I remember one time my friend ended up coming up to me in school and he was telling me, yo bro, I'm not joking when I say this, I think my dad has a new girlfriend or something. And I look at him and I'm like, okay, I guess that's cool, because I'm gonna be honest, I generally don't care. I don't really need to know if your dad's banging or not. Or should I say doing the Devil's Tango. But then he kind of looked at me and he's like, no, but the weird thing is, bro, is that I don't see anyone going in or coming out. It's just, it doesn't make sense. And I'm like, what do you mean going in and coming out? That's what she said. Okay, anyways, going on. He said, no, no one opens the door, no one enters the house. Dude, it's weird. At first I was like, okay, so you're telling me that there's literally someone sneaking into your house at night and you can't even hear it? And he looks at me and he's like, I don't know, man, do you want to maybe sleep over? And I look at him and I go sure, why not? I don't mind. fine. Like, cool, a sleepover. I'm down for that. And that's what we ended up doing. We ended up planning a sleepover and basically doing a whole stakeout. And when I mean stakeout, I don't mean like we went and ate steaks, as much as I would love to eat steaks. Like, oh, I love steak. But no, basically what we ended up doing was we basically made like a setup in the living room where we literally got flashlights. We literally got like our BB guns that we had. And we also had like a water gun, and we had like a bunch of stuff. Basically an artillery, preparing ourselves to see whoever's gonna walk into the house and just jump them. That was the original plan, at least. And I remember as we were like sitting in the living room, kind of laying down and kind of just watching our movies and waiting till nighttime hit, we were kind of like watching the door as well to make sure, you know, no weird ladies just end up walking into the house. But then the weirdest thing ended up happening. My friend's dad ended up coming downstairs saying, all right, you boys get some sleep. I'm gonna also head to bed. Have a good night, guys. And he turns up the TV volume for us when we were watching a cartoon and goes upstairs. Now that was a little weird, because if he was going to sleep, why would he turn up the volume on the TV? Obviously something was up, and me and my friend had no idea what was going on. We both looked at each other, and he said, do you think she's coming over? And I look over at him and I'm like, dude, I don't know. This is your house. This is your dad that wants to do the devil's tango. You tell me. And as we were basically discussing and watching this cartoon, I remember my friend ended up getting the TV remote, turning down the volume, and looking at me saying, do you hear that? At first I had no idea what he was talking about. I was like, dude, you're tripping out. I'm just trying to watch this cartoon. It's sick as like hell. Like, dude, what do you mean? What's the problem? And he looks at me and he's like, no, dude, like, listen. I kept listening, and I ended up hearing moans coming from upstairs. Obviously, it did sound like his dad, I'm not gonna lie. But me and my friend were so confused because we saw no one, and I mean no one, come through the door. At this point, my friend was going berserk. He was literally like, dude, like, how is this happening? Like, how'd she get in? I don't get it. Who is this woman? And I ended up looking at him and I'm like, dude, I don't know who the woman is. Don't look at me. And he ended up basically saying, dude, we're gonna go upstairs. And I looked at him and I said, dude, I am not going upstairs to go see your dad doing the devil's tango with another woman, okay? No, thank you. But then he tells me, dude, like, please, bro, like, this is like a big deal for me, man. Like, my mom keeps questioning, is he seeing new other girls? And I don't want to lie to my mom anymore. And it's just stressful. And honestly, let's just say he went on a basically full-on rant about him and his mother. And I felt bad. Let's just say the best way for me to do things is guilt tripping me, apparently. I don't know. But going on, me and my friend slowly started to sneak upstairs. We started to basically crawl up the stairs nice and slow. Like, you know, like when you're a kid and you're like climbing up the stairs, you kind of like put your hand on there and then put your leg and then slowly creep up the stairs. That's what me and my friend were doing beside each other. We were going up the stairs, and as we went up the stairs, the moaning got louder. Now, I'm not one to moan into the mic, but I'm sorry, it's gonna happen for this segment here. Basically, what we heard was, oh yeah, that's oh yeah. And we were weirded out like crazy. Like, I'm not joking when I say this. I get it's weird that I moan into the mic for these stories, but like this needs to be described because this was so weird. Anyways, we got to the top of the staircase, and when we started looking around, we ended up walking towards his room. And like I said, the moaning even got louder to the point where my friend put his hand on my shoulder saying, can you go in first? Because I'm not doing it, man. And as I was reaching for the door handle, the door opened itself. It was his dad in a robe, and apparently he heard us coming up the stairs out of nowhere. He looked at us and he was like, what are you guys doing here? I thought you guys were going to bed. Is everything all right? Are you guys okay? I look at my friend, and my friend looks at me, and we're like, yeah, we're good. We're just bathroom. That's literally what we said. His dad looks over at me and he's like, you guys have to use the bathroom? I mean, yeah, just go for it. It's down the hallway. I don't know why you guys came towards my room. Obviously, we're pretty bad liars, but we ended up just going to the bathroom, and me and him went in the bathroom together, and we basically sat there and thought and basically tried to think it out. We tried to think what could possibly be happening in there. Then after I look over at my friend and I'm like, dude, do you ever just maybe think your dad's just, you know, maybe using his left hand nowadays or his right? I don't know. And he looked at me. He's like, dude, no, man, my dad doesn't do that, bro. That's weird. I'm sure he's doing it. He's never that loud. And I kind of like was like, what do you mean, bro? Like, what do you mean he's not that loud? And he looks at me, he's like, bro, the only time he's ever that loud is when with a woman. And the last time I heard him that loud was with my mom. How he knew this was mind-blowing to me. I don't know if he just inspects his parents. Like, I don't know. Apparently he spectates them literally doing the devil's tango. Like, I don't get it, but you know, whatever. Anyways, as weird as I was like, you know what? We're gonna do it one more time. We ended up leaving the bathroom, and we saw his door was wide open. And apparently he went downstairs to the kitchen. And him thinking that we were asleep, we ended up sneaking into his room. Me and my friend snuck into his room, and we basically looked around the room to see what was going on. As we were looking around, we realized that the bedroom was clean. There was no mess. The bed was fine. Everything was clean. We were clueless to what was happening until my friend saw a leg and an arm sticking out from under the bed. Now, this is where we start freaking out because we were like, is there really a girl hiding in here? We ended up looking under the bed, and my friend pulled out what, I'm not gonna lie, grossed me out, but it was literally a devil's tango doll. A literal doll. doll. And I'm not joking when I say this. This is going to sound pretty gross, but there was literally devil's cream between the legs and on its face. I don't know what to tell you guys. It was ultimately the most disgusting thing ever. And I remember as my friend pulled it out and we put it on the bed, we were just staring at its eyes with the devil's cream on it, grossed out. We had no idea what to do. And then his dad ended up walking into the room, seeing me on one side of the bed and my friend on the other, basically staring at this thing that was on the bed. And his dad started freaking out. He was like, oh, why are you guys looking at my stuff? Why are you guys in here? What's going on? I remember he ended up grabbing my wrist and my friend's wrist and pulling us out of the room and basically closed the door. And when he closed the door, he looked at us and said, listen, there's some things you guys need to understand is that I get pretty lonely nowadays. And honestly, I missed your mother. So I ended up purchasing something online. And me and my friend were just looking at each other like, what in the world? There's literal dolls for that? We were so weirded out that I remember when we went back downstairs, we ended up going on the internet searching up these Devil's Tango dolls. And let's just say, they're real. And I don't advise getting one unless, you know, I guess, I don't know. It's weird, bro. Anyways, guys, that is basically it for the story. Make sure you guys do leave a like and subscribe. Thank you guys so much for listening. And like I always say, follow for more embarrassing stories. Peace.